Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, I want to tell you a story that starts with laughter, doubt, and quiet humiliation, but slowly turns into something powerful, emotional, and completely unexpected. When Adam stood in the dusty lawyer's office holding the thin folder that contained his entire inheritance, he already knew people were going to laugh. He could almost hear it before it happened. The whispers, the jokes, the pity disguised as smiles. Because just 6 months earlier, his life had fallen apart in a way he never imagined. Adam was newly divorced, emotionally exhausted, and trying to figure out how to start over after his wife of 11 years walked out with a suitcase and a calm voice that said, "I'm just not happy anymore." No shouting, no drama, just an ending that left him staring at an empty house, wondering where exactly he had gone wrong. The divorce took more than his marriage. It took his confidence. Most of his savings went into legal fees and splitting assets. Friends slowly stopped calling. Weekends became quiet, too quiet. And the only person who still checked on him regularly was his grandfather, Henry. Henry was old, the kind of man who fixed things instead of replacing them, the kind who believed silence was sometimes better than advice. He lived most of his life in a remote area, in an old wooden cabin that looked like it belonged in another century. No internet, no cable, just trees, mountains, and a crackling fireplace. Adam used to visit him as a kid, fishing in the creek, chopping wood badly while his grandpa laughed, listening to stories about resilience, war, mistakes, and second chances. Henry always told him, "Life strips you down sometimes, son, but that's when you find out what you're actually made of." When Henry passed away quietly in his sleep, Adam was heartbroken, not just because he lost his grandfather, but because he lost the one person who still seemed to believe in him. And then came the will. Most of the family assumed Henry had hidden money somewhere, maybe land, maybe investments. After all, he lived simply but never seemed worried about money. When everyone gathered at the lawyer's office, expectations were high. Adam's ex-wife didn't come, but his cousins did. His uncle, a few distant relatives who barely ever visited Henry but suddenly cared deeply about his legacy. The lawyer cleared his throat and began reading. Small cash gifts here and there, a watch, some tools, nothing dramatic. And then he got to Adam. "To my grandson Adam," the lawyer read, "I leave my cabin." That was it. No money, no land deeds, just the old cabin. There was a pause, and then someone chuckled. One of his cousins laughed out loud and said, "You mean that falling apart shack in the woods?" Another added, "Guess Grandpa really had a sense of humor." Even the lawyer looked slightly uncomfortable. Adam forced a smile, nodded politely, and said nothing. Inside, though, something stung. Not anger, not embarrassment, just exhaustion. After the meeting, his uncle pulled him aside and said, "Listen, kid, if you don't want it, I'll take it off your hands. Save you the trouble." Adam shook his head. "No, I'll keep it." Driving home that day, he kept asking himself the same question. Why would his grandfather leave him only the cabin? Was it a mistake? Was it pity? Or was it something else? A week later, with nothing else pulling him back, Adam packed his car and drove to the cabin. The road was long and winding. Cell service disappeared miles before he arrived. When the cabin finally came into view, his heart sank a little. It looked worse than he remembered. The roof sagged. Paint peeled off the walls. The porch steps creaked dangerously. Weeds grew tall around the foundation. Anyone else would have turned around right there. Adam stood in front of it, hands on his hips, and let out a slow breath. "Well," he muttered, "guess this is it." Inside, the air smelled of old wood and dust. Cobwebs hung in corners. Furniture sat exactly where his grandfather left it. A single bed, a table, shelves full of books and jars. The fireplace was cold. Adam sat down on a chair and just stared. For the first time in months, there was no noise, no expectations, no people judging him, just silence. That first night was rough. The cabin creaked with every gust of wind. Animals moved outside. The cold seeped in. Adam barely slept, but in the morning, something shifted. He stepped outside, and the sun rose over the trees in a way he hadn't seen in years. Birds sang. The air was clean. His chest felt lighter than it had since the divorce. He decided to stay a few days, just to clear his head. Those few days turned into weeks. Adam started fixing small things, patching holes, replacing broken boards, cleaning years of dust. He found old tools his grandfather had left behind. Using them felt like shaking hands with the past. One afternoon, while clearing out a storage chest, he found a sealed envelope with his name written on it. His hand shook as he opened it. Inside was a letter. "Adam," it began, "if you're reading this, it means I'm gone and you're standing where you need to be." "I know," they laughed. "Let them. This cabin isn't about what it looks like. It's about what it gives you. Time, quiet, purpose. I watched you lose yourself trying to be everything for everyone else. Now it's time you rebuild yourself. Start with this place. It'll teach you more than money ever could." Adam sat there for a long time, tears running down his face. That letter changed everything. He stopped seeing the cabin as a burden and started seeing it as a project, a mission, Something meaningful. Every day, he worked, learned, failed, tried again. He watched tutorials when he could download them in town, read his grandfather's old books, talked to local craftsmen who slowly warmed up to him. Months passed. The cabin slowly transformed. The roof was fixed, the walls repainted, the fireplace restored. He added solar panels, repaired the porch, built a small workshop out back, and something else changed to Adam changed. His hands grew calloused, his posture straightened, his mind cleared. He slept better, laughed more, thought less about the past and more about what he was creating. One day, a hiker passed by and asked if the cabin was for rent. Adam laughed and said no. But that question planted a seed. Over time, more people asked. Hikers, writers, couples looking for a quiet retreat. Adam did the math. He listed the cabin online as a simple off-getaway. The first booking came a week later. Then another. Then more. Within a year, the cabin was booked months in advance. Guests left glowing reviews. They talked about peace, healing, simplicity, how staying there helped them reconnect with themselves. Adam expanded slowly, carefully. He built another small cabin nearby. Then another. Local businesses started benefiting. A small community formed around the area, and the laughter, it stopped. The cousins who once mocked him started calling, asking questions, hinting at investments. Adam politely declined. The uncle who offered to take it off his hands visited one day, jaw-dropping at what he saw. "I can't believe this," he said. "This place is worth a fortune now." Adam smiled softly. "It was always worth something, just not what you thought." Years later, Adam stood on the same porch where he once felt lost and broken. The sun set over the trees. Guests laughed in the distance. His phone buzzed with bookings and messages. But what mattered most wasn't the money. It was the fact that he had rebuilt himself from the ground up. Alone, quietly, honestly. The cabin didn't just change his life. It saved it. And somewhere, he liked to believe, his grandfather was smiling, knowing they laughed at the wrong thing. If this story moved you even a little, remember this. Sometimes the thing people mock the most is the very thing that will transform your life. Don't let laughter stop you. Let it fuel you. Thanks for watching. See you in the next story.